We are going to talk all things periods. This is going to be the sex ed that you never had, that you've always needed. And honestly, this is something where I have been seeing it come up organically in a lot of conversations with clients and check ins. And I was like, wait a minute, like this should be required for everyone, even damn near in like the intro of starting the program because it's so important and nobody talks about it. So I'm going to be going over a variety of things. Cycle syncing, balancing your hormones, and how it pertains to you being able to lose weight, and also just how to monitor things for your period and what your period means for you. So I love to always start with a nice little before and after of myself, but I want to kind of paint a picture of where I was at in the photo above versus now. And so I was overweight. I was eating like 1,000 calories a day and super miserable, but I was trying to do anything I could to lose weight. I was literally doing Orange Theory classes 5 days a week. I would even go to the gym on other days. I was doing 10K steps at least because I was a server. So I was running around like sweating my ass off all day. Like my feet were like so pain, like just in pain every day. Anyways, and I would get my period like once a year. And this was just the norm for me. Like my whole entire life since I was 12 years old, I literally would only get my period once a year, maybe twice a year if I was lucky. And when it came, it was absolutely miserable, like so painful, debilitating. It was like all 12 months just decided to just like the floodgates all came out one time. So it was just a lovely buildup. And now that I'm learning about hormones and cycles, it's like that technically was a 300 and 60-day cycle that I was on. And so the normal cycle, which we'll get into, is about 28 days roughly on average. And so, yeah, one a year is really, really bad. And my experience with it was that no one gave a fuck. The doctors didn't care. I would call for a sprained ankle and they'd be like, when was your last period? And I would be like, I don't know. I don't get those. And they'd be like, okay, next question. At even like, seeing like the gynecologist, like I would go to get blood work or like STD tests or whatever, because I'd always be getting those. And they would bring it up because you're even talking about you'd be talking about your periods and lady health, and they like literally never cared or like thought it was a red flag, no matter how many doctors I talked to. And one of them finally gave me birth control, and that just made actually everything exponentially worse. And that is a story for another day. But the pill did not work for me. The IUD definitely did not work for me. And so I was kind of forced to go cold turkey off of it and still never got any help. And so I have all by myself got my hormones regulated. I'm on like about a 50-day cycle right now. So while it's not perfect and completely quote unquote normal, I literally went from like one time a year to two times a year to four times a year to now it's about every 6 weeks. And so I'm actually working with a coach who's way smarter than me, and way ahead of me than I am. And he's going to actually help me improve my cycle. And so I'm like 2 weeks into working with him just to see if there's a possibility that my body will get even more regulated than it is now. So, if I can go from that to this, I just want to say that it's possible for anyone who has PCOS or irregular periods. And everything that I teach in my program teaches you how to do it. And everything in today's presentation is going to kind of go over that too. And so it's actually by eating more, working out less, and really caring about overall like sleep and stress management and things like that. So we'll go ahead and dive in. The first thing I want to say is cycle syncing is absolute bullshit and it is not true. And so I know this is also popular and trendy. And, at first I was like intrigued by it too. And I went to go do research on it. And there really wasn't anything supporting it, just people's vibes, I guess. And a study recently just came out actually saying that they have reviewed all of studies and research and everything. And so they brought everything together and actually like determined that there is no evidence whatsoever that supports cycle syncing. It is not supported, like it's not a thing. And this one specifically also went into like in with training and your workouts and exercising. And so they went in and they reviewed a bunch of women over time and athletes and kind of seeing what the different outcomes were when it came to performance and how they were feeling. And once again, there's just no science or anything to back up that you should be doing different types of exercises throughout the month or throughout your cycle if your cycle isn't a month. And so why is this important? Why am I bringing this up? Because every woman is unique, is basically what the study was kind of pointing to. Is that there's going to be nuances to this, of course, and each woman in their cycle and their experiences are completely unique. And so you cannot compare, your experience to like just a general blanket statement. I also want to point out to you guys that in case you didn't know, there is limited research that involve women at all. And until the 1970s, most research like literally specifically went to exclude women on purpose. And so keep that in mind too when you're looking into research and if you're looking at articles and everything, because a lot of things are based off of claims of working off of men, and men do not have the same hormonal rhythm as us. They are on a 24-hour cycle. Their hormones fluctuate basically the same thing every day on repeat. Whereas us, we are on a monthly cycle. And I want to reiterate, if you have a regular period, if you don't have a regular period, it makes things even more fun and complicated. But a regular period is basically anywhere between 21 days and 35 days. So I know that's a broad range, but that's kind of what's determined as normal. And we'll dive into that in a little bit. But reason being is that these studies that are done on men cannot be the same as women. And so now I'm really happy to see research is coming out and we're seeing women included and specifically studies on hormones and things like this too. So just know that it's still kind of new. But anyways, how does cycle syncing even apply to women who, once again, don't have predictable cycles? It doesn't. It creates more stress and rules and confusion. And this is also why I hate cycle syncing, is that like starting a fitness journey and creating a routine is already so daunting and so overwhelming, to where it's like now you're thinking that like your workouts have to change with your cycle and you're trying to figure out what foods to eat around your cycle. And should you be seed cycling, and should I be having this supplement, or should I be, changing my whole, it's like, no, you need to have one routine all the time, every week, every month. It does not change. And so it just sucks because I feel like women are already so vulnerable and it's so easy to target us. And so when we see that something might be a little bit more like customized or, targeted towards, female anatomy, we get excited about it, but actually it's just kind of doing more harm than good. And so, I also kind of want to reiterate that if hormones are a problem for you and like you don't have a regular cycle, that doing straight cardio only is the worst thing that you can do if you do not have a regular cycle. And so following cycle syncing advice can actually just make things worse for you. And you're thinking that you're doing good. But yeah, we're wasting time. It's causing decision fatigue. And that's why I always try to reiterate that like strength training truly is key. And it really is like the only thing that's recommended throughout your entire cycle anyways. Even if you were to follow cycle syncing, you'll see that like it's Pilates and strength training anyways. And so it's like, okay, why don't we just focus on the one thing that's safe to do all the time, no matter what? So now we'll kind of dive into your hormones and specifically menstrual cycles and kind of just how the different fluctuations actually affect us throughout our cycle. So does anyone here already track their cycle in like an app or take notes on it? Do you know how long your cycle is? I'm just curious. And you can drop it in the chat. You don't have to unmute. I started tracking mine in like 2021, but before that I had no idea. And I feel like a lot of women don't track it, and so they don't even know how many days, that their cycle even is. So that is also something I wanted to bring awareness to. Yeah, I got a yes, I got a no. But if you do not know how many days your cycle is, that is going to be the biggest takeaway that you should take from today's call. And at the end of it, I'm going to go over what I recommend on how to do that. But I just want to bring awareness around the fact that, like, as a woman, your period is your fifth vital sign of health and is a direct determiner of how healthy that you are. So if you are unaware about your cycle, that is like a number one homework item for you. So, how you figure this out is day one of your cycle is the first day that you bleed. So, this is your menstrual phase. What's happening here is estrogen and progesterone are starting to lower. And when those two hormones lower, this is what causes lower energy. And so, it is once again your body's natural response to these hormones lowering. When progesterone drops, this also can give you like the period poops. I don't know if anyone can relate to that or have heard of that. And sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But that is just a sign that it's dropping. Um, and estrogen, thank you, Michaela. We unite over that. Um, Estrogen is essentially, okay, sorry. Estrogen causes the endometrium to shed. And so this shedding is the bleeding that we see. So then after you're done bleeding, you head into the follicular phase. So hormones are now going to be released that trigger like it makes your follicles grow, and then that is what basically like preps the ovaries to get the egg ready for ovulation. So estrogen is now rising. So it went from low to now high. And so instead of being from low energy when it's low, when it starts to rise up, you're going to have better mood, better energy, better recovery overall. So you're going to start feeling better almost immediately after that. And then after that, this kind of once again ranges. It could be about one, I wrote day 6 to 8 to 12 to 14 because once again, this is going to be unique to everybody. I'm just trying to give you guys like a rough range of kind of what to expect for the phases. And then ovulation is next. So this is about 2 weeks after your period. Once again, it varies. There's nuance to this. And this is the actual release of the cell from an ovary, so the egg is now released. And so it's either going to implant and you become pregnant or it passes through. And so now we're going to see the estrogens rising and also testosterone's rising, and that is at its peak. And so estrogen, once again, better mood, energy, recovery, but testosterone also plays a huge factor here in increasing energy. Your libido can be going up and you could be really feeling yourself and having some confidence. So take advantage of that. We love ovulation. That's what I feel like that's also trending. Like people are like glowing and peaking. And then, hang on to that as long as possible because then we get our favorite phase of them all, the luteal phase. And so now progesterone's rising and you can have a higher body temperature, and so this also is what kind of causes the uterus lining to soften and prepare to shed. And so once again, it's preparing for the menstrual cycle right now. And so if estrogen is too high in your specific body, this is what can cause painful periods. And the reason why is because if you remember back here, estrogen is what causes the endometrium to shed. So if estrogen is really high, it's basically causing a thicker uterine lining and causing more tissue to build up, uterine tissue. And so you're actually bleeding more than what you would if it was normal. And so you're bleeding more and it's, there's more buildup, and that is what's actually causing it to be painful because it's producing more than it should be. And so, here, if progesterone is lower, then you could also be anxious or irritable. And this is where, you could start feeling, like, what is my life? Should I quit my job? Like, I hate my boyfriend. Like, you start kind of spiraling. But this could be once again because progesterone's lowering. So, this is just to give you an idea of the 4 phases. And I want you just to keep this in mind as we continue throughout. So bringing it back to cycle syncing and tying it in together of why cycle syncing is bullshit and why, looking at the phases in particular, if we were to stop strength training during our luteal phase, which is a very popular claim that I see, that's 2 weeks out of the month. So you'll see that luteal phase, people usually start really feeling it like the second part of it, like the week, few days up to the menstrual cycle. But I want you to really see that the luteal phase is really, really long. It's, half the cycle. And so if you were to just stop strength training during the luteal phase to support your body, now you're just not working out for half of your life. So that actually, once again, is going to do more harm than whatever the cycle syncing is claiming that it does. And so research does show that strength training, like I told you guys earlier, is beneficial across all phases. And not only that, but it actually reduces PMS. So by avoiding strength training in the long term in your luteal phase, you're actually making your PMS worse. And so I really want to like bring that home of why I am so gung-ho about strength training. Because not only is it safe to do all month long, no matter where you are in your cycle, whether you have regular periods, whether you don't have regular periods, but if you don't have regular periods, not only will it help balance out your hormones for PMS, but it will actually help you regulate your cycle and start to see a more regular cycle in general. And that's not going to happen if you're doing a shit ton of cardio. It's only going to happen if you're doing strength training. So once again, overcomplicating things with the cycle syncing doesn't make you more balanced. It makes you more stressed out. And stress also is a huge disruptor of your cycle health in general. And so the more stress you have, the more negative impact it actually has on your periods each month too. So I just wanted to link the phase, now that you could see how long the luteal phase is, into where if you were listening to cycle syncing, how make it make sense. It doesn't. So once again, what actually regulates your cycle is going to be exactly everything that I teach you in this program. The three pillars of everything, the core principles of what we believe here is strength training, anywhere from 2 times a week to 4 times a week. And I want to explain to you why in relation to specifically your cycle health. So it improves your insulin sensitivity, so your blood sugar, and then your estrogen and progesterone balance. So going back to you seeing how much that fluctuates and how big of an impact that can have on you, that this is going to be important because the studies actually show that it helps balance out these two hormones that are the biggest things fluctuating throughout your period. Once again, strength training is going to boost your metabolism and reduce PMS. And then the second thing we focus on in this program is eating the correct amount of calorie and protein goals for your body, and the amount of workouts that you specifically do a week. So reason being is that, eating enough calories, and I always reiterate to you guys that like not going over your calories or going under your calorie goal is just as bad as going over your calorie goal. We really don't want to be under eating. It's the Goldilocks dilemma. Like you have to be eating the right amount. Eating less than your calorie goal is not good. And actually, fun fact, if you guys didn't know this, bikini competitors and stuff, like when they go to step on stage, they're eating like nothing, like 800 calories a day. And a lot of them will lose their periods. And then they have to work with the coach after the bikini prep to then restore their periods, because if you're under eating for too long, then your cycle goes away because that's no longer your body's priority and it doesn't feel safe. And when your body doesn't feel safe, it doesn't feel safe to have a baby. And that's why it's not having a period, because it's not safe. Your body is smart. And if you are stressed out, then it's not going to have, which is going into pillar 3. But if you're stressed out, it's not going to feel safe to, ovulate or have a period or anything. And yeah, so anyways, it takes time of eating properly to where these bikini competitors and stuff can then restore ovulation and fertility because they're finally eating enough to restore their cycle. So calories and under eating really does do so much damage, not just for your metabolism before your period. We are, as women, like not understanding how fragile we are. And then protein supports more hormone production, metabolism, and helps you burn fat. And then third pillar, managing stress. This also protects your progesterone, prevents PMS, and regulates cortisol, your stress hormone, supports your thyroid. And your thyroid is basically your body's way of burning calories. So this is where if you have like an overactive thyroid, then you could be burning too many calories. And then if you have an underactive thyroid, then your body's not burning it efficiently. So you could gain weight if your thyroid's not functioning properly. But most importantly, helps with ovulation. So I just want to remind you guys that as long as you continue with the basics that I am teaching you in your weekly check-ins and for the program, that alone is going to be the biggest needle driver in regulating everything. Anything else that I go into in a little bit is going to be like supplemental or, kind of individualized. But everyone here, just like rest assured that like what we've been doing and what we've been focusing on always is going to be the main thing, and just being consistent with it long enough and never stopping. And so I just wanted to remind you and pop some of these pictures in here, like none of these ladies cycle synced, and we all are, doing the same thing all together and seeing these results. And all of us could have, some of these ladies have PCOS and irregular periods when they come to me, and some don't, and we're all doing the same thing. So whether you have PCOS or whether you don't have PCOS, like this is the method. So I just wanted to remind you guys of that. We can play a fun little bingo game really quick. I just want you guys to kind of take a look at this and start counting, maybe even on your fingers. It doesn't even have to be like a bingo, but like really try to maybe tally up if you deal with any of these things, whether it's all the time, all month long, or if it's only around your period. Like a lot of women, I feel like, don't even know what the signs of something being off is until it's kind of laid out clear in front of you. So after you look at it, I'll give you guys a second. I want you guys to drop the numbers of how many of these symptoms you deal with in the chat and see if we can get a bingo. I need some water while you do that.
You're just wanting the number, right?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. You don't have to list out the symptoms.
Okay.
And there's no prize, unfortunately. So don't get excited. Okay, we got a 4 and a 5. We got a 5. We got a 9. Okay. And so I put this on here because I wanted you to be like, oh, okay. So, technically 5 is a bingo, right? So if you have 5 or more, then it might be like, okay. Um, and we got all of them. It also used to be more before the program. Yay, it's already working and it's only been a couple months. So, um, even if you only have 1 or 2 of these, you don't have to get a full bingo card for it to be a red flag. It's essentially why I wanted to put it on here, kind of like a tricked you, because if you even have 1 or 2 of these, it's not normal. And so it's just telling us that there could be some hormonal imbalances or some poor gut health going on to where your body's not able to detoxify properly. And so I want you to, keep track of this and then also definitely keep tabs on it with me and your check-ins, and me and you can work on this obviously one-on-one. We're not going to do that here on the call, but I just wanted to bring awareness that like none of this is normal, and if you're experiencing this, then your body needs a little bit more support, which we'll dive into. So common is not normal. A lot of those things on the bingo card are really like normalized. And like you could be talking with your friend on the phone and you're like, oh, girl, like I'm on my period. I feel like shit. And this and that. And this is happening to me. And then, your friend kind of like validates that and is like, oh, same, and then it's like you hear women talking about it all the time. And so you're like, oh, okay, it's really not that bad because we all feel like this and we all feel this way. And it's just because it's common doesn't mean it's normal. And so, um, your cycle is your body's report card, like I was saying. So, yes, your cycle and like your period shouldn't be like nothing. Like, it's like there's obviously still going to be like light symptoms, but it should be very mild. Like, you should be able to notice it, but it shouldn't be anything crazy. Like, you should have some mild cramps that you can feel. You might feel a little off or a little, moody, a little bit more hungry, or maybe a little bit weaker during your periods, but like once again, not miserable, not unbearable. And yeah, it should be something light. And so our period really is our fifth vital sign and a direct marker of how healthy or unhealthy a woman is. So in my opinion, this should be the only thing that your doctor is asking you about, and making sure that we're doing everything that we can to regulate this. So I just wanted to point this out here to see if maybe you can identify with any of these. And I'm pointing this out too, because even when I'm asking you guys in consultation forms and onboarding you into the program, like you're not even maybe realizing it's not normal, and you're not even bringing it up as something important that we need to work on. And so I'm realizing now I need to do a better job of educating you guys on these symptoms of things to be looking out for, to be like, oh, wait a minute, like this isn't normal. Maybe I should, talk about it. And once again, I'm not a doctor, but I will be helping you, and support you through this. And I can support you through conversations with your doctor and kind of help guide you along the process and work alongside. I'm also getting certified to read labs and everything, and even be able to like order them for you. So that is in the works, because I want to be able to support people, because I know how negative of an experience I've had with doctors and how even if you go to your doctor, sometimes it's not as helpful as, you have to advocate really, really toughly to get, what you want or go through multiple doctors, which is just exhausting. And then people usually kind of throw in the towel. But anyways, that's separate. But I will be getting certified in that. And also through the check ins, I want to remind you that this is a process of you learning your body. And so you're learning how to listen to your body and keep tabs on it throughout the week. And that's what those questions are for. And yes, you're answering them for me, but you're also answering them for you. And I keep tabs on y'all. So I've had a couple people, mention things about their period, and then I see it becoming a trend, and then I call it out. Or if I see that you're having difficulty losing weight on the protocols, that's not normal. So then I'll be like, hey, have you ever had blood work done? And then I've had people go get blood work. We see that the thyroid's off. We see that, their hormones are off, or that, their glucose is high, and all of these things. And then we can support them that way. And so just know that I'm keeping tabs on you, and I will tell you to get blood work if needed. And if I'm not telling you, then once again, there's nothing alarming. And so you can kind of feel like rest assured that there's nothing alarming. And if I'm not having you go and have that conversation, but also maybe you're not aware of the symptoms. So maybe you're not telling me. So maybe I'm not seeing anything alarming. That doesn't mean it's not happening if I'm not raising awareness around it. So if you're having very heavy, long periods, that's an issue. And I kind of went into the causes and also like the effects of having very heavy, long periods. If you have painful periods, that's also an issue. So once again, some causes and some effects. If you're having light periods, although that might feel like a blessing, it's not a blessing. That's also a problem. If you're having late or irregular or absent periods, also not a good thing. And there could be something else kind of going on here. So just wanted to point this out to where if you resonate with any of this, once again, please take note of it. Let me know in your check-in and we can dive into that later. But this is also why I say test, do not guess. If you did not know, your doctor and your medical insurance, most of them cover a free annual, checkup, what's it called? Physical. And then you can also ask for them to order blood work. The blood work that they're going to order is going to be very, very basic. It's not going to be extensive at all because it's free, right? So it's like, and running more like specific labs is expensive and costs money. So they typically try to just start with the bare minimum. And then if they see some things off, then it can be an indicator to do some further testing. But they would only do further testing specific to what came back as abnormal. So, anyways, if you are not getting your annual blood work done for free, that is also what you need to write down in the first plan of action. The second we hang up from this call, you need to go make that appointment because there's so many women who aren't taking advantage of that. And once again, we need to be doing that regularly. If we see something abnormal, then we need to be testing it even more every 3 to 6 months while we watch it. Like this is very, very important. And once again, we're not going to guess what's wrong with us. That's why we go get the test and we actually see if there is something wrong, because sometimes we could just be tripping. Okay. What is normal when it comes to our period? I like this little info, so I hope you guys like the picture. Normal cycle length is 21 days to 35 days. And I want to reiterate that it's what happens for you on a regular basis. So as long as let's say that it's 21 days, 21 is fine and 35 is fine. But if it changes, like if it's 21 days, 1 month, and then the next cycle it's 35, and then the next one it's another number, then that is bad. So if it's 21 all the time, that's great. If it's 35 all the time, that's great. If it's somewhere in the middle too, but I'm just trying to give you guys examples. The bleeding itself should only be 3 to 7 days. If it's more than 7 days, that's an issue. And then also like the amount of bleeding, you should not be having to change your pad or your tampon every hour. It feels like a lot of blood's coming out, but in reality, it's only about 2 to 5 tablespoons over the whole time. And so anything more than that, red flag. So irregular periods are classified as periods that are less than 21 days or more than 35 days apart. So once again, if it's less than 21, red flag. If it's more than 35, red flag. If you don't have a period for more than 90 days, that's a red flag. You can now become at risk for endometriosis, which is the most painful, worst thing on planet Earth. I've had a couple clients with that and I feel so bad for them. If you have a very light, like I said, light periods may feel like a blessing, it's not. Or if you have a very heavy flow, or if it's fluctuating. So if you're realizing like, hey, in general, this is, not very light or very heavy into what I'm used to seeing, that could be a sign of irregularity going on. And then once again, periods that last more than 7 days. So if you have one off cycle here or there, this is common. It shouldn't be anything to be alarmed of. But if you're noticing that it happens more than a onesie, twosie here and there, or if a lot of changes are happening at once, then we want to, step in and talk to our doctor. But if you just have like one off cycle here and there, it happens. Also, if you decide to stop taking birth control and your period does not come back within 3 months or so, then we need to also talk to your doctor because now you could even have like a birth control induced PCOS, and that's definitely a thing. And then what causes these irregular cycles? So this could be due to a variety of things. And so it could be just the hormonal imbalances, stress, like I told you. If you're losing too much weight, like I told you, the bikini competitors losing their cycle. Also, if you're overweight, there's literally just people that are, overweight and they're not really having anything else going on. And then the second that we have some weight loss, their periods come back. It could be due to medications, obviously birth control, PCOS, thyroid, endometriosis, fibroids, pelvic inflammatory disease, perimenopause, and breastfeeding. So just to give you some insight onto why this could be happening. Okay, back to the PMS, because this is something that obviously based off of what you guys have been saying in the bingo can mostly relate to. I want to remind you, PMS is not just part of being a woman. We do not need to normalize suffering, um, cramps, bloating, tenderness, tender breasts. Don't be tender. Um, Headaches, trouble sleeping, sugar cravings, irritability, anxiety, depression, mood swings. All of that are a result of probably a hormonal imbalance, notably estrogen dominance. That is like our main culprit here, is estrogen being too high. So how do we fix it if you're struggling with any of this PMS here, like I said, and if you're having estrogen dominance occurring? I want to remind you the bread and butter, the three pillars of the program. So regulating your insulin and balancing your blood sugar. And we are all doing this and working on this together through having a high protein diet, pairing it with fibers and healthy fats, because like I was mentioning earlier, that this is what actually helps balance out those two main hormones that fluctuate for us around our cycle, the estrogen and progesterone. And that actually, by being balanced, is what can reduce cramping. So when your estrogen is once again too high, then that can actually cause the compound effect of cramps. Regular exercise. So that's why we're all doing strength training. And stress management, sleep, even doing like, once again, going back to the principles of the dopamine detox. I think I'm going to do a call on wind down routines and like sleep soon, because obviously the dopamine detox was like really good for all of us, but like not really something that we can do all the time. So I want to kind of revamp it and teach you guys how to just like get better quantity and better quality sleep all the time. So I'll go into that soon with you guys. And then supporting detox. And by supporting detox, I mean like pooping and flushing out toxins and hydrating. So hitting your water goal. I give you guys a water goal for a reason. Okay. I'm not just saying it to give you something to do. Fiber and then specifically cruciferous veggies can be helpful in supporting detoxification. And then I wanted to dive into a couple other things that you can do in addition to, once again, the basics, the majors that we do. So there is some supplements that you can take if PMS is like a thing for you. One thing is magnesium glycinate, 400 milligrams to be exact, 30 minutes before bed. That is going to be your saving grace for sleep, stress, anxiety, but also can help with your cycle. The magnesium glycinate is something that we can all safely take every day. So if you want a specific rec for that, let a girl know. I'll send you the link. Anti-inflammatory diet around your cycle could be helpful. This is really just eating like clean, eating like salmon and, berries, avocados, no processed foods, and yeah, anti-inflammatory can be really, really helpful with balancing hormones. Omega 3s is also something that you guys can safely take. And then specifically turmeric and vitex are something where I wouldn't say that everyone should be taking those. That's only if like, you really want to focus on inflammation and the cramping. So, um, and then one thing I wanted to touch on that maybe you guys don't realize is the effect of caffeine and alcohol. So one alcoholic drink can increase your estrogen by 10%, just one drink. And obviously, like caffeine and alcohol in general has different effects, but like depleting our key minerals. But like, I just wanted to let you guys know, like drinking around your cycle also is like a thing. Once again, do what you will, but at least be making decisions knowing, educated choices behind it. So, um, yeah. All right, we're heading into the last part of kind of what I wanted to cover today, and I wanted to go into cycle tracking. And so, before I go into this, actually, I feel like besides the bingo, I've just been ranting. Does anyone have any questions or anything so far before I continue? Comments, concerns? All right, speak now, forever hold your peace. Okay, cycle tracking.
Wait, I have a
So,
question.
oh, let's hear it, girl.
I just suck and can't figure out how to unmute myself.
It's
It's
okay.
like,
I
I
swear that
don't need
happens
a
to me too.
background. It was like, choose
Put the
your
background
background. I'm
on.
like, can you just unmute me?
Put the
Um,
curtain.
so my question is, I love caffeine and I feel like I always want like a matcha or a coffee, and sometimes I want two a day. What's like the proper amount that you should
Amount
be
of
having
caffeine.
every day?
So nobody in God's green earth should be having more than 300 milligrams of caffeine a day, and that's for like a grown man.
Oh,
And so that's one thing to know. I really would like to see your guys' caffeine at 200 milligrams or less a day.
okay.
And this is something I can also provide even like a resource for you guys on. Let me write this down. I'm gonna do caffeine to. I won't have to do maybe even like a whole class on it, but I can just drop like a quick resource for you guys. But yeah, 200 milligrams max. I want to see it kind of in the earlier start of the day because the later you have it, caffeine does have a half life of
Okay.
8 hours. So, like, the later you
Um,
have it, it's still in your body for up to 8 hours after that. And so, just being mindful of that. And yeah, 200 milligrams is kind of like what I recommend, no more than that. So, good question.
well, yeah, thank you.
Matcha is good though. Isn't that low caffeine? I don't drink matcha. I can't get into it.
I think it is lower in caffeine,
I
and
think
it's like got
so.
more antioxidants and like good shit for you overall, and you don't crash as hard like you do with coffee. And I
Yeah,
feel like I'm kind of like going more towards like teas anyways, because like with Invisalign, I don't want even more fucked up shit with my teeth. So
feel that.
no more
Um,
stains.
No more. Yeah, I feel that. It's already hard enough out here.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the wellness hormone girlies love matcha. So if
Yeah.
anyone wants to try to swap out their coffee or their Alani energy drinks, if you will, it's a good thing to try.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, good question. So cycle tracking. So I told you guys in the beginning, if you don't know how many days that your cycle is, I really want you to start tracking your cycle immediately because once again, we're not sinking or, uprooting our whole life and, living like it's the Bible, but it is about understanding patterns and getting to know your body. Okay. So, um, some women can even hit PRs and like literally be the strongest they've ever been, feel amazing on their period in the gym, and like it's all good, while some others may be tired. And so I want to remind you there's nuance to this. And the most important thing is figuring out what your pattern is. Some months or cycles, like I told you, might be better than others. It's okay to have, one bad period every once in a while. But the more data that we have, the more awareness that you have, and the more feedback that we can, be monitoring and I can give you. But I also want to do this to let you know that like we're tracking data and not feelings or vibes. So like if you tell yourself in my luteal, I'm always tired, then like you're going to be. But like, what if you tracked, your mood and your energy and your feelings all month long, and then you kind of realize like, oh, that's not true. Then we can use that data to kind of rule something else out where it's like, is it like during a certain time of the month at work for you, or is something else happening? And so it's like, it really gives you the power back into being like, yes, it is this, and no, it's not this. It's like we can really define when you are tired or when things are going on, because this will kind of remove any like placebo and like really allow you to learn your body and have facts. I want you guys to follow the facts and not what you think, because our brains are so powerful. So if you tell yourself like something, it becomes true. And so if you go into the gym on your period thinking like I might hit a PR today, you might fuck around and find out and going heavier than you thought you were. And but if you tell yourself you're not, then you're not, and you're not going to even try to begin with. So, tracking apps that I recommend are the Flow app. This is the one that I've been using since 2021. It's free, or I think I just lied. I think I paid $2, 199 or something, one time to download the app, and then after that, there's not like a subscription or anything. It's free after that. It's good because it tracks, your mood. You can document whether like you've had like sex on there, so you can track that. You can track your different types of like discharge that you have. Once again, like that's all important too, and like signs of your body too, depending on your cycle and everything. And so it's really, really detailed. Here, I'll actually put pictures for you guys. My Flow app. And so, yeah, you can go into symptoms. It asks you a whole bunch of things. And then also, I like it because it'll tell you what phase that you're in and then give you kind of insights behind phases. And just teach you more awareness and everything about yourself. But it's cool because you can track over time and then be able to go back and see it. And then it will end up telling you, like, on average, your cycle is 40 days or whatever. And so it tracks the data for you and can be really insightful that way. If you have money to invest, the Aura Ring and Natural Cycles is like the holy fucking grail. I'm obsessed with my Aura Ring. That's why I was trying to tell you guys to invite your friends and try to do a promo to drop Aura Rings, and maybe I'll do like a Black Friday thing on it or something. I don't know, because the Aura Ring literally changed my life and they're like $400. So it's pretty hefty. But Aura Ring not only tracks your sleep, and gives you insights of, how much deep sleep you got, REM, light sleep, if you were awake. So like once again, like how many times you actually woke up throughout the night. It tells you also like your readiness score. So like your recovery. So like even if like sleep was really good one night, but like overall your readiness for the week and like your recovery for the week sucks, you can like see the comparison. And I love it for sleep and stress management. But also the reason why I love it is because it takes your temperature. And the temperature is the key component here because that is how it actually detects ovulation. So you could have periods and not be ovulating. And that's also something. And so if you're just manually tracking into like the Flow app for free, you're kind of in charge of figuring out if you're ovulating. And like if you have natural cycles without Aura, you can get a thermometer and take it yourself. But like you have to be so strict about it because you literally, not my bones, you have to roll out of bed and like take the temperature up. Harley, I'm telling you guys, my boyfriend's coming home. He's gonna ruin the call. He's gonna ruin it. He could have waited 10 minutes. Um, you have to take the temperature so fast that it's like hard to be accurate. Whereas with the Aura Ring, it just happens automatically. And so, anyways, if you're not taking your temperature, then you're not actually be able to detect ovulation. And it detects it when your temperature rises and stays rise for a certain amount of time, and that's how it determines it. And so with natural cycles, it tracks all of that for you, and you can still track, your skin, your sex drive, your pain, your symptoms, your emotions, and things like that. It's also interesting too because like if you're sick or hungover, for example, like you notate that so it can detect that and once again track trends over time. So if you don't have the money to invest right now, that's fine. Pin it for later. Christmas is around the corner. Great gift to ask for. Invest in yourself. You can also get natural cycles, like I said, without Aura Ring. I think it's $5 a month or something. But there's different ways to pair it. And yeah, okay. And then last but not least, on the thing of like, okay, let's say that your cycle, your period is whipping your ass this month. If shit actually is rough, here's what we do. We still want to stay consistent in our routine, no matter what, no matter where we are in our cycle. Your workouts, your nutrition, your sleep and stress management are all your constants, your non negotiables always. But obviously, listen to your body, okay? Like if you're super fatigued, super low energy, you're really, really, truly not feeling well, like I don't want you to skip the workout altogether, but I want you to be able to move it to another day. Oh, Janina said Aura Ring is also HSA, FSA eligible. So if you have um, that through your work and through your medical plan, you can get reimbursed. So that's fire. Okay. If you are super fatigued, I don't want you to skip the workouts. I want you to move it to another day. So like just be like, hey, not today. So like most of us in here are only working out 2 to 4 days a week anyway. So this should be flexible. You should be able to roll it. If you can't roll it, don't dwell on it. Don't freak out. Like obviously, if you skip one workout every few months, it's not going to kill you. And obviously, I show you guys that, but we do want to avoid that if possible. And once again, avoid that habit because then you're teaching your brain like, oh, I'm just going to skip it. And we don't want to get into that habit either. So, also, it's okay to still go to the gym or still show up for your workout and just adjust your expectations. Like, go into it being like, okay, I'm just going to do lower weight than I usually do today. Or I'm just going to kind of like go through the motions a little bit and not, try my hardest. And like, that's okay too. And like, give yourself that grace and give yourself the ability to kind of just show up and be proud of yourself for just showing up that day. And so I feel like that's a common question I get is like, do you work out on your period or like what do you do if it's really bad? And it's like, use your discretion, try your best and adjust your expectations. Roll it if you have to, but at the end of the day, I want to remind you that going consistently, making this a lifestyle, doing it permanently, not just for the duration of the program, but for the rest of your life, is what's going to actually help reduce your PMS and these things coming up around your cycle that make you skip it in the first place. So sometimes you just got to kind of go through it and be consistent with it and put in the reps in, and then those problems will actually begin to go away and you won't have to deal with that anymore to begin with in the first place. So just want to provide you guys some reassurance. Some of you guys in here I know are already seeing progress and results in your cycle and your symptoms and everything too, in addition to your fitness goals, which is amazing. That's like all I could ever ask for you guys and want for you guys truly. And if you're new or not seeing it yet, just know that like you're planting the seeds and it will come. So I think that is it. Anymore? No, that is it. So any questions or anything on any of that, you guys? Right, cool. So what's your guys' homework? Download the Flow app. What else? I'm
Figure out
forgetting.
how long your cycle is.
Figure out how long your cycle is on the Flow app. Start tracking it. Track your shit. Thank you. Obviously, it's going to take a couple. And yeah, literally track your shit. It will take a couple cycles for it to actually, once again, for you to see trends. So track right away. And then, oh, if you do not have your physical with your doctor booked and your blood work done, make it that an appointment. It is free. Take advantage of it. And then send me all of the results of the blood work and I will review it with you.